Welcome to the Gavel. I am Terry Ikumi. The members of the National Assembly are still enjoying their one-month holiday, but I dare say not all of them, especially the Senate President, perhaps, who within the week was hit with fresh allegations by suspended Senator Natasha Akpoti. She defied all odds, which included road blockage by security personnel on instruction of the Kogi State government, and landed in Kogi State in a helicopter to see her people in what has now been described as a homecoming in the entire sense of the word. It must have really felt like the home that it is to her, considering the large crowd that received her. It was at that homecoming that she made fresh accusations against Senate President Akpabio, alleging that he had contacted former governor of Kogi State, Bello, with whom she shares some bad blood, to assassinate her. Now, that is a very strong allegation. And the Senate President's office has responded through a press release signed by the spokesman of the Senate President, Eseme Ibo, describing it as baseless, false, and inflammatory. The statement reads in part, "It is important to remind the public that this same individual had previously made an unsubstantiated accusation of sexual harassment against Senator Akpabio, a claim she seems to have abandoned without explanation. Having failed to gain traction with that narrative, she has now escalated her campaign of misinformation to a deadly and defamatory dimension." End of quote. Now, that statement also touched on the allegation of manipulation of the judiciary by Senate President Akpabio, made by Senator Elisha Abu to secure his removal from the Senate. Again, the statement reads in part, "The timing, tone, and striking similarity of these coordinated attacks point clearly to a politically motivated smear campaign. These individuals, backed by undisclosed interests, appear united in a desperate effort to undermine the credibility of the Senate and its leadership, and is intended to distract her from their own personal and political shortcomings and failings." That statement is concluded by saying the formal letters of demand seeking immediate public retractions, apologies, and compensation for reputational harm are underway to be served on both Senator Natasha Akpoti and Senator Elisha Abu. Wow. Moving on, let's take a look at some Senate and House resolutions just before the holiday.
Mr. President,
the Senate last week raised concerns over an asymmetrical implementation and what it describes as systematic abuse of the federal character principle in the nation's public sector.
the constitutional criteria for equitable distribution of employment, which requires that each state contributes its proportionate quota of 2.75% of the national workforce, and the Federal Capital Territory to account for 1% of the workforce, while catchment areas are to address localized recruitment for junior staff up to 75% of positions.
The issue of inquiry and non-inclusiveness was extensively debated.
Conduct of affairs of government includes development of the country evenly across the geopolitical zones. Therefore, anything government shall do must pursue balance, and it shall to be done in a manner that every part of Nigeria shall be accommodated in it. And that's the only way to preserve national unity. Mr. President, the constant breach of this section of the Constitution, you remember that I have been a champion of equity and fairness in this chamber, right from the 8th Senate. Anything you do to the exclusion of any part of Nigeria is a breach of Section 14.3. Anything you want to do, infrastructure development, I've been fighting here about Eastern Rail Line, that is breach of this section of the Constitution. Appointments into agencies of government, I don't need to continue to recount what Sireke Dixon has enumerated, but I want to say that my zone has been the greatest victims of this breach. Today we have only 5 ministers in the 6 geopolitical zones of Nigeria. Others have minimum of 8. So we have been dropped due to non-observance of this section of the Constitution. And I believe that if people who are in authority, not only the president, people who are appointed to head agencies of government, if they are properly guided by Section 14.3, there will be no domination and influence by any part of Nigeria in the affairs of government.
We must be seen as senators where we have influence to ensure that we use it bearing in mind that every part of this country need to have a feel of inclusion. I think that we are as guilty, since we have immunity to speak in the Senate. I think we too can do better wherever each and every one of us has opportunity to make nomination.
Thank you very much.
Because I can point at some people who have been appointed on the basis of certain influences, and those appointments were not a fair reflection of the principle of federal character. Just to say that pointing fingers at others is cheap. What are we doing differently?
The resolutions were adopted.
The Committee on Federal Character will conduct this exercise and revert with their report to the Senate in 3 months. Say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Separately, a report on the Committee on Interior confirming the appointment of Mr. Sylvester Nwakuche as the substantive Controller General of the Nigeria Correctional Service was considered.
Following his nomination by Mr. President and the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. Mr. President's request was referred to the committee on Tuesday, the 11th March 2025. In the course of the screening exercise, the committee interrogated the credentials and capacity of the nominee for the office of the Controller General of the Nigeria Correctional Service. The committee found the nominee as one with an impeccable character, full of exposure, experience, intellect, energy, drive, and worthy of the nomination.
After the deliberation, the Senate approved President Tinubu's nominee with a charge.
Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Mr. Nwakuche Sylvester Ndidi, MNI, MFR, for appointment as Comptroller General Nigerian Correctional Service? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Mr. Nwakuche Sylvester Ndidi, MNI, MFR, is hereby confirmed as Comptroller General Nigerian Correctional Services. Let me congratulate the nominee for this elevation by his country and for his past services, and hope that this confirmation by the Senate will spur him to continue to put his best in the service of our fatherland. And particularly thank the Committee on Interior for doing a painstaking job and ensuring that a thorough screening was done to verify the veracity of the documents submitted and the suitability of this nominee.
The Senate also confirmed the appointment of Professor Melvin Ayogu as a member of the Board of Directors of the Central Bank of Nigeria, after a report submitted by the Senate Committee on Capital Markets. Meanwhile, in the Green Chamber, lawmakers, through a motion, resolved to investigate allegations of abuse of tax incentives, tax breaks, and tax waivers by public institutions granting same and by the companies benefiting from tax incentives.
Mr. Speaker, I have a matter of urgent public importance, and I want to plead and seek your leave that this matter be considered as such. It bordered on loss of trillions of naira based on abuse of fiscal policies, evasion of taxes, which we need to rise up to and curb now. So I seek the leave of this House that the matter be considered as a matter of urgent public importance. Furthermore, to seek to apply that extant relevant rules of the House be set aside for this matter to be taken as such. I so plead, Mr. Speaker.
The House mandated its Committee on Industry, Finance and Commerce to investigate the above allegations and report back to the House within a period of 4 weeks. Also, the attention of the House has been drawn to the over 1.1 trillion naira so far raised since 2017 through 6 sovereign Sukuk issuances to finance 124 federal road projects spanning 5,820 kilometers across the nation's 6 geopolitical zones. Honorable Jonathan Gaza alleges irregularities in its implementation.
House notes that since the year 2017, the federal government of Nigeria, through the Debt Management Office, has raised over 1.1 trillion naira through 6 sovereign Sukuk issuances to finance 124 federal road projects spanning 5,820 kilometers across the nation's 6 geopolitical zones. With the most recent data from the SEC in December 2024 confirming this amount, that's approximately $657.6 million at the current exchange rate. The House recalls that the Sukuk financing breakdown includes 100 billion in 2017, another 100 billion in 2018, 162.557 billion in 2020, 250 billion in 2021, another 130 billion in the year 2022, and 350 billion in the year 2023, with indications from posts on various reports suggesting an additional 150 billion naira was issued in October 2023, pushing the cumulative total to approximately 1.242 trillion naira by the end of 2024, pending official DMO confirmations for late 2024 issuances. The House observes that despite this significant investment, Nigeria's roads infrastructure remains in a deplorable state, with over 70% of the country's 200,000 kilometers road network still unpaved, as noted by S&P Global Ratings in January 2024. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the House is worried that without robust accountability mechanisms, the Sukuk program risks becoming a conduit for mismanagement or corruption. The House therefore resolves to, number 1, mandate the House Committee on Works to conduct a forensic probe into the allocations, expenditure, and outcomes of the 1.242 trillion naira Sukuk funds raised from 2017 to the year 2024, identifying instances of diversion, inflation, or contract non-compliance. Number 2, mandate the Ministry of Works to provide the Committee on Works with detailed real-time records of all Sukuk-funded road projects, including financial disbursements, project statuses, and contractor performances as at date, to be updated every quarter. Number 3, mandate the Committee on Works to submit a comprehensive report to this House within 6 weeks, detailing findings, issues, and proposed remedial measures to be issued surrounding the Sukuk financing in Nigeria, and mandate the Clerk of the House of Representatives to publish this resolution in the Journal of the National Assembly and the Gazette of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in compliance with Section 88 and 89 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, I so move.
The committee is expected to submit a comprehensive report detailing findings and propose remedial measures to the issues surrounding the Sukuk financing in Nigeria.
Now, last week, 111 constitutional amendment bills killed second reading in the House of Representatives. So let's get a reaction on some of them from the Policy and Legal Advocacy Center. We'll get a reaction on the bill which seeks to confer citizenship on foreign men married to Nigerian women. Here's the breakdown.
this will not be the first time that this bill is coming before the House. The bill was introduced in the Ninth Assembly, but it failed. It was one of the 5 gender bills that actually was vetoed in March 2022. So this is like a comeback for the bill. This bill is very significant because it seeks to grant equal recognition to men and women in the Constitution on the issue of citizenship. So if this bill passes, foreign men or foreign spouses of Nigerian women will be able to apply for citizenship by registration. It's an amendment to Section 26 of the Constitution. This bill is very important to women and women's rights because it aligns with international obligations. Different countries around the world, have amended their constitution and their laws to provide for equal recognition of men and women on issues of nationality and citizenship. So this is very, very commendable as Nigeria is moving, forward in that regard. It's also very important if you look at it from the aspect of social integration, of families and men married to Nigerian women. If this bill passes, to make it very easy, for women, for men married to Nigerian women to integrate into Nigerian society, it will help them form stronger ties and commitments to Nigeria. So it's a very important bill because what it basically does is that it says that women's rights are important just as men's. One major criticism is basically why should men acquire Nigerian citizenship because they are married to Nigerian women. And the main reason cited actually is culture, because in Nigerian culture, when a woman gets married, she takes on the identity of her husband, and it doesn't happen in reverse. So for a lot of people, the question is, why should Nigerian women grant, be able to confer that citizenship rights to men? And I think this is a very, should I say, patriarchal or outdated belief. We should move forward. A lot of countries have this law where, citizenship, where men and women have equal recognition. And I think it's also very important to, that there's some form of reciprocity. We have a lot of Nigerian men who are married to foreign spouses, who are married to foreign men, and they go to these countries and they acquire citizenship. So the question, I will throw back to people who come up with this, this criticism is what will happen if these countries actually reverse themselves or make it impossible. So if Nigerian men are able to enjoy these rights, then Nigerian women, should be able to have that, they should be able to enjoy that privilege as well. I think, there should be equality before the law. This is a fundamental human right. So I think it's a very important milestone. More work needs to be done now. It's going to go to the Constitutional Review Committee. There will be deliberations. This bill, the committee always recommends this bill for adoption. And I see that happening again this time. But in terms of it, getting that final approval and concurrence from the Senate, it's a bit early to tell how that is going to go. But I'm hopeful that this time around, the National Assembly will take a different approach because, women were really heartbroken when this bill failed in the 9th Assembly. So I'm hoping that the 10th Assembly will take a different position on this and leave a legacy, by showing Nigerian women that they are considered equal before the law on matters of citizenship. This is not just a gender issue. This is a fundamental human rights issue.
Now, this week on Constituency Focus, Honorable Afamogene, representing Ogbaru Federal Constituency of Anambra State, is our feature.
As somebody representing Ogbaru Federal Constituency, which is actually a riverine community, Ogbaru is made up of 15 indigenous communities, and we lie on the banks of the Great River Niger. My people are predominantly farmers of yam, cassava, vegetables, and other food crops. But the major challenge that they have is poor access roads. In fact, the only major road that connects all of these 15 communities and linking up to the border with Rivers State is the Onitsha or Somala, Onitsha Atani or Somala Ogwibele Road. And that road was done halfway during the time of former Governor Peter Obi. Ever since, it's been a little push and shove here and there. But incidentally, oil exploration has been going on in two communities of Ogwibele and Ogwanyocha, which makes Anambra an oil-producing state. So the state right now is earning revenue from the 13% derivation, but the roads are simply not there for the people to move out. In fact, the oil company had to create pipelines and collect to the side of the delta. So they actually take this oil across the river to the delta area. So I'm calling on government to also, at the subnational level, the state level, and the federal level, to synergize and ensure that this road is done. This is one major need of my constituent. The next would be the fact that as a coastal federal constituency, this seasonal flooding, affects my community so much so that bungalows, you only see the rooftops. It's as bad as that. And so I'll also be pushing for holding centers. Each year they ask people to go upland. Upland to where? There is no provision made for people to move out of the villages and come upland. But I'm sure that if we have 3 or 4 holding centers that could take especially men, women, and children during such period, because it has almost come to stay that each year we lose about 3-4 months to flooding. So you can imagine floods that cover rooftops. So nobody would actually be staying there. And it's a hard time getting to undertake that kind of movement. So if the government provides us with holding centers, large halls, take it up, and then people from the catchment areas could easily move there while the period lasts. So basically, those are 2 major issues that confront us. The oil exploration, which also devastates our environment. And so I'm calling on the government that whatever they are doing with regards to community participation in oil production, they should factor in the various communities of Ogbaru, because they are also all negatively impacted. My plans is to always be their voice, and that I've started, because if you don't say you are here, nobody would remember to say you are at that particular point. So given my own background as a journalist, I've offered to be the voice of the people, which I've been doing even in my first incarnation as a legislator in 2011. I was publishing community newspapers. Already I've started a radio program for them, which has employed about 5 youths. So employment is key too for people in my area. The fishes are dried up because of the environmental degradation I told you about. So it's my remit to always look out for job opportunities for them, to assess the various grants and loans available to improve on their farming. And then we're also encouraging skills acquisition. In my first tenure, I did that, ran a semi-organized technical institution. I intend to go back to that in different trades, be it dressmaking, phone repairs, barbing, confectionaries, well, whatnot. We had about 11 trades that we engaged in, and this time around we would do similar thing. The road that I told you about coming into Ogbaru got so dilapidated that even vehicles, the crater could swallow vehicles. We had to do palliative work on the road, even though it's not our duty. But because we intend to make life easier for our people, I spent 5 million naira getting just hardcore blocks to fill those spots, which the people have seen us do. Then we have a scholarship scheme which I don't almost like to talk about, because when you do some form of charity, even when I'm not in office, I do that. So it's something we'll continue with on a larger scale, different from the number I had as a private citizen.
Well, that's all the time we have on the Gavel this week. Thanks for your time. I'm Terry Ikumi. Goodbye.